In order to call in, 1-646-749-3122. Use access code 819-169-093. Please remain mute at all times except when speaking. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm in attendance, Ed Goodwin, and remote we have
Eric Gaspar.
Great, all right. You have anything, we're going to go right into the meeting? Okay, we're going to go right into the 6 p.m. session. Open the public hearing for the notice of intent for 124 Lake Road. The owner is Julie Gart, applicant representative Mark Levine. Ground effects, DEP file number 300-1239. Proposed project is a cantilever dock. All right. So you're up.
Actually, this one better. It's the new one.
Set.
Go ahead, yep.
Mark Levine from Ground Effects. What we're proposing to do is eliminate, currently there's two, I guess you'd call them semi-permanent docks, one on the left and one on the right, that are suspended by cables. They come out and get lifted up. The one on the right side, we took out, the tree that it was cabled to had died, it falled into the lake. We removed that one. The other one is killing the tree that it's attached to. And the client just wants the one single. We eliminate the wing docks that are there currently. The Chapter 91 doesn't allow for the one to go back on the right side, so they're just gonna have the one on the left side next to the boathouse. And the counterweight is, the shoreline is a heavy concrete border right now. It's a seawall made of concrete. So the beams would pass through that. The counterweight would be at least 4 feet behind that concrete to have no disturbance of the soil close to the shore. Up above on the right, there's an existing gazebo that has a maple tree that will prune. It's in a little bit of rough shape. That's one of the trees that had cable into it for the dock that fell in. And we convert that grass area over to wetland plantings. And we're looking to replace the concrete pavers that are in repair with clay brick on an open aggregate base for drainage. And that's kind of the project in a nutshell.
Okay. All right, anything?
Karsten, I'm just gonna, can you mute yourself for when you're not talking? Because we're hearing the lovely coffee shop music, which is fine.
Okay, so I can't hear because I'm okay. Where do I
Yep,
switch
so
off?
just, yeah, I'll have you do it because sometimes if I mute you, it gets complicated, so. When we went on the site, we had discussed the possibility of being able to move the counterweight further back from the retaining wall. Mark had said that the beams go 40 feet, so math, the closest part would be about 8 feet, so we get a little bit further back just for that recharging, getting it further away from the initial bank and the 25-foot disturb. We have the updated plan that shows the erosion controls and the specific landscaping in that grass area as well, so that addressed those concerns. And obviously, a waiver is needed for disturbance within the 25-foot buffer. There's a lot of vegetation on the site and surrounding the site. And those are my comments.
Any comments from Eric?
No, I think net this is a good improvement to the current state of affairs, so I'm good with the project.
Carson? Okay. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Seeing none?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Oh, did we just lose Karsten?
No, he went to unmute himself.
Second.
The wrong thing.
Perfect.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 124 Lake Road, DEP file number 300-1239, I'd like to make a motion to provide a waiver for disturbance within the 25-foot buffer.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. All right.
With regards to the project at 124 Lake Road, DEP file number 300-1239, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project under the Wetland Protection Act with the conditions as noted in the draft order of conditions.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
And I didn't hear you. Were you in favor too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
With regards to the project at 124 Lake Road, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project under the Sturbridge Wetland Bylaw with the conditions as noted in the draft order of conditions, and an additional condition that the applicant should post a surety in the form of a bond or deposit to the town of Sturbridge in the amount of $5,000 to be held as surety until the satisfactory completion of the work.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, continuing on. Notice of intent for 235 Cedar Street, owner applicant Ryan and Brooke Tarr, Representative Mark Farrell, Green Hill Engineering, DEP file number 300-1238, proposed project construction of a single-family home on an undeveloped lot.
The updated one. It's not the updated one.
Okay, I'm Mark Farrell, Green Hill Engineering. What we have here is a revised site plan. That reflects things we talked about at the prior meeting and the site visit. Basically, we went to DPW and fire, and they're okay with this driveway if we just elevate it a little bit on the upper part of it to kind of soften the grade. We had originally proposed to put a new driveway down here. This would be utilizing the existing gravel drive that's there in place now. And we had proposed another drive that would have come down here that would have met the 12% bylaw, but it would have ended up disturbing this whole portion of the slope here. There was a question of what trees were taken down. This was basically, the vast majority here was overgrown Christmas trees, but there were some larger trees that were taken down. So I basically went out and did a stump map. So I went up and marked with these are all, this brown spots here are all where there's deciduous or pine trees. This is a 100-foot buffers. This is a 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland in the rear. This is a 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland in the front. So there basically were 3 trees here that are probably 75 feet, 60 to 75 feet from this wetland here. So we propose to do some replacing those trees, so have some deciduous hardwood trees here and here to replace these 3 trees. They would also like to vegetate this over here, and they're interested in putting an arborvitae shrub here because the other neighbor is over here, so it act as a privacy screen and kind of along the border. And I also showed, I think this originally, this one has a little bit of a history, and there's an outstanding DEP order or order of conditions on the property. And I think that the two things that were not done were this culvert right here, which somebody put in recently, but it only has like inches of cover over it. So basically, we're proposing to dig that out, bed it in stone, and then put a foot of cover over it. So it'll be heavy trucks and construction equipment can go over it. So I think that was one outstanding thing left from the original order of conditions. The second was, there's a replication. It's kind of vague on the plans. We have some old Jalbert plans, and so this area here is about 50 square feet more than what was shown on one of the Jalbert plans as a replication area. So this is the edge of the current wetland. They would just pull this back. I have dimensions on there if you can zoom in to this area here. I think it's 11 feet off to pull this back 11 feet. Maybe it's up right up here. No, I don't have it. So it's just going to be, it's about 11 feet back, the length of the wetland from the zoning setback to where the existing driveway is. Just cut that bank back, reseed it with a wetland mix for herbaceous understory, and then put some speckled alder in there, which would thrive in there. It's basically it's a sunny spot. They grow quickly. They're a woody shrub that grows 12, 15 feet tall, and it can survive conditions where if it gets inundated or too wet or dry, go back and forth, it won't kill them. I also proposed a new well location here. I'm still in discussions with the Board of Health to see if they'll allow this, keep this existing well here. I believe it was put in maybe 20 or 25 years ago, and if it has good quality water and it meets the quantity, then we're going to see if we can keep that. If not, this would be the location of a new well that would meet the requirements for Title V, over 100 feet from the reserve area and the septic system over here.
Now, the current well is in the wetland, right?
It is. It's not a, it's basically, there's no evidence of standing water in there, so it has wetland vegetation, but no water-stained leaves, or so I don't see any indication here that there's ponded water, and the wellhead is well above any elevation the water could get to, so it's there if the Board of Health allows it. I think they should allow it because up's gradient, a few more lots up is the old Sturbridge burn landfill.
Yeah.
And so if this water tests clean, then my suggestion would be to use it. They're going to have, if any new drill well would have to be tested as well to make sure it comes up clean.
What's the depth on this well? You don't even know.
We don't know. But it's probably, I believe it has wires in it, so I think somebody put a pump in it. I would estimate its age is like 20 or 25 years old. So I think all you'd have to do is hook a generator up to it, purge it, and maybe chlorinate it, and then, like they do a new well, and just pump the well for a couple of days to get all the chlorine out, and then test the water.
But, I mean, this is really a Board of Health issue.
Right. And then I also put some, they wanted to kind of control the water coming off the driveway, so I have a call for riprap on the downhills. This driveway's ground, so this water would kind of go off this direction on this half, and this half would be go in this direction. I put some riprap on the slope here to protect the driveway, you know, if somebody kind of gets off of it, so it doesn't, you know, peel off the edges of the driveway. And it'll also give a place where the water can drain and just kind of absorb back into this is all wooded on both sides over here.
So with the revised plan, this does carry over some of the work from the order of conditions that is currently open that encompassed for multiple lots, including the 12-inch pipe that went under the driveway and putting that material back on top as from the site walk. As you know, there was maybe a couple inches on there. I went on site with Heather, our DPW director, to show her the driveway cut versus trying to put in a new cut next to the drainage off the road. And she did agree that it did make the most sense to utilize the existing driveway path that's already there. The lot just after that has a similar slope as well, and there haven't been any concerns. Our fire inspector, Lieutenant Ash, went out as well, and she does not have any concerns. The fire truck might have a hard time backing up if there was an emergency, but if something happens, that emergency access would be provided to the homeowners. That was a big concern there. The replication area that's being proposed on this plan is larger than what was initially proposed. And if the property owner is able to work with Ecotech that had done the previous replication, that would make the most sense, just because they'll have the site history and get familiar with it. And proposing it in this area does help clean up some of those invasives that have grown in that area as well, that we would have wanted to require as an order of conditions to kind of mitigate some of that. I also don't have an update on the well, as far as I know. Ken's still in the point that it would not be able to be utilized, so having me, for the sake of moving forward, we would assume that this would be the new well, and I think that if, for whatever reason, that did change, that would come back to us for approval to use the existing well and trench it, and that would either come as a secondary permit or an amendment. So because we would have to look at that impact for getting the trenching through, even though that goes down. The slopes coming down are stable and heavily vegetated, so I think maintaining that existing vegetation is important for slowing down any runoff, especially any potential impact on the driveway, which it does kind of level up before it gets to that flat area. There's some mitigation that's been proposed. I had recommended some diversity with the plantings too, so we're not just getting all of the same things in here. I would still recommend that if approval is granted, I would recommend that the homeowner pursues requesting a partial certificate of compliance to relieve himself from the open order of conditions that still needs to be resolved, and that just kind of puts him responsible for just this project alone, with everything that's been carried over onto this plan. Mark, did you make any progress with DEP on the status of the superseding order?
No.
Okay, so that's something that we just still need to figure out, if there's an open superseding order of conditions that needs to be resolved, which I believe was for the road issue.
Yeah, the superseding order of conditions was for the driveway, and so I'm assuming that replication here is what is required for the impact when they cross this wetland here.
Right.
And then I think they probably required this culvert so they could maintain hydraulic connectivity between the wetland on this side of the driveway and this over in here. So this was recently done, but poorly done, and this portion was never done.
And I think it's safe to assume that in some point within the last 20 years that wetland did connect, and that was all one, and
Yeah.
at this point, that driveway's been And we have some stormwater controls on the house as well. Site's relatively flat, but that should mitigate any impact from the structure as well. Those are my comments.
Any comments, Eric?
Yeah, I'm just curious, you had put a note in our agenda about the OOC and the superseding order, and having those cleared up before moving forward. Have you gotten clarity that would make you feel more comfortable with us looking at moving forward? Or would your preference, Lauren, be to make sure that those are closed out, those are set, that they're cleared, and then we can move forward with a clean project?
As far as the open order of conditions on the property, I wouldn't recommend doing a partial certificate of compliance until this commission issues another order of conditions. So if that were today, or if that ends up being at the next meeting, I would recommend the applicant request a partial certificate of compliance for that following meeting, just to kind of relieve himself on that end. As far as the superseding order of conditions, I think it's still kind of unclear of what was required. And I think my only concern would be if there is something that was required as part of that project and that superseding order that would require a change to this project. I think that's kind of my only concern with the superseding order.
That's my concern as well.
Carsten?
Yeah, so I had a question. So the driveway is fully in the wetland, and it will be a tar driveway?
At some point, the driveway was created that essentially filled the wetland. This commission accepted and endorsed ORAD in 2022 for the new delineation, and then issued the order of conditions for the replication area and the culvert and the changes to the driveway to, for lack of a better words, accept it.
But the replication was never done?
We have reports that it was done. We don't have any information for if it has been maintained, hence why with this we're adding a new replication area. Because that proposed replication area was also in the wetland, which also kind of didn't make sense when Mark and I were looking at the plan together too. So, but we have reports from Ecotech, which I can pull up.
So that will be a 2-1 replication?
I believe it's slightly larger. So this was 2022 from Ecotech.
I think that's on the lot below,
Let's see. So that's the other lot. Let's see.
the other lot. So the best of my looking at it is I don't think the original replication on this lot was done. I think that the replication, there was one done on the next lot down, that house is constructed. I don't see in the area was, and we were working off of some old plans that Lenny had done, and he showed a replication area on this lot and a new culvert to be put in. So I'm assuming that went back to the original superseding order of conditions that the DEP issued for the property.
So basically for this lot, there's absolutely no replication. I mean, you have to regard this, since it's a new lot, as a new project, and so you would have to require replication again, since this is going directly through the wetland.
I think so. This is a replication. The unknown in this factor is what the amount of wetland that was initially filled. That's the unknown. So it's difficult to determine the size of the replication area. What's being proposed here is still larger than the initial proposal. But we don't know how much was filled. It may have been, you know, just this lower area here. It may have been the entire wetland. But at this point, we're unable to determine that number.
But to confirm, we had proposed to us and we agreed to a replication area as part of the previous order of conditions that is smaller than what is being proposed here. So we feel comfortable that this is more substantial of a replication than what we had already permitted.
So this was, if you can see me sharing my screen, whoops. This was what was originally proposed for the replication area. So
Yeah.
684 square feet, but that also looks like it's in the wetland. And also what's being flagged now as wetland, not replication. So the new replication area is up here.
Okay. And how much will that be? In terms of square feet?
720.
It says it right in here, if you can zoom in, what that area is. 720, I think it says, right there.
720.
And
So
then
we're
if you go
going
back to
from-
if you go back to that Jalbert, this plan here, I just want to note this, this looks like it was a plan done by Jalbert in '88. So, and then what they did is they kind of scanned plans and brought them back, and he basically updated as best he could some of the original plans. He came up with this 684 square feet. So what I did is it makes more, what I did is just went a little bit bigger, 710 square feet, and then put it along the existing edge of the wetlands on the property now. There is a small possibility this was done, but if it was, it's not gonna hurt to add more wetland to the site. I mean, it's not gonna be,
My understanding is that it was done.
it was done?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
But, you know, we never went back out.
When was it done, an '88 timeframe, or,
I'm not gonna give you a time frame.
what's that?
I can't give you the time frame. Or, you know, it was since '88. I can't tell you when. It was taken from Lenny's work and passed on to another engineer. I'd be satisfied with that. As far as the replication is concerned. What about the culvert? Is the culvert satisfactory, or should you put a new one in?
Put a new one in.
What?
We gotta put a new one in.
Brand new one, right?
Brand new one in.
Okay.
Well, they can use that culvert. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the culvert, but it's not gonna withstand vehicle traffic for construction. So it has no cover on it, and I don't know what the bedding is underneath it, so just dig it out, put bedding on, which will do two things. One is kind of protect and make the pipe more structurally sound.
So you're leaving the pipe in,
No, we're gonna take that pipe and reset it,
resetting it, but you're putting it back in.
put it back in, and then putting a footer cover on top of it. So it can withstand the vehicle traffic.
And that's what was supposed to happen the first time.
There's not a lot of, I see no evidence when I've been down there of any sort of flow. So I think most of the flow there is subsurface. It's a wetland, but it doesn't have a stream associated with it. It doesn't have a
It's so damaged, I think that.
What's that?
I think the area has been so damaged that that's the reason you don't see the flow. With the houses that have been put in,
Could be.
and the roads
Yeah.
that were cut in, and the trees that were cut, and the work around the back with all those pipes, I don't know what the hell that was. That was before my time.
Well, this will restore the hydraulic conductivity as this plan Jalbert had, was proposed 12-inch culvert. Like I said, it was put in, but we're going to put it back. It's just going to reset it in a better, more structurally sound way.
Eric, you want to say something?
I was just gonna ask Mark, it was in the agenda around these OOCs and superseding order conditions, suggesting they were cleared. Is there any reason why there wasn't, that wasn't brought to this meeting to clear those up? I know the superseding order you're still doing research on, but is there a reason why that hasn't been done yet?
I couldn't hear it.
Why they haven't brought a certificate of compliance for the open order?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why hasn't that been done?
I'm just having difficulty with all of the questions that are still open on this, and being able to get myself to the point where I can comfortably. We've certainly made a significant amount of improvements from day one, so thank you, Mark, for that. But I think we need to close out some of these not trivial questions before we take action to move forward, just so we don't end up in a situation where we either have to undo what's already been done or have some pretty big concerns based on the additional stuff that comes back at us.
So would you like to see a partial certificate of compliance on the next agenda with
And,
this
and I'd like to
open?
see that SOCC cleared as well, or at least have the research fully done so we can, there's just too much of this like question mark. We need finality to that, I would think. I mean, no, it just doesn't make any sense to me that we can't clear this up. I realize it's old, but we've been clearing up.
Well, that one's 2022.
Huh?
That one's 2022, so that's not that old.
Oh, okay. So we have to then, especially if it's only 3 years old. I mean,
It's
I think we
technically
need to
still
clear up
valid.
those outstanding orders and superseding orders. And, I'd be okay with putting those in front of this at a future meeting so we can have those cleared up and then take action on this. But I'm just one vote, but I think I think we probably should have that all cleared up before anything else. And that would also give an opportunity to see if we can get more information on, I certainly don't want to take away the additional replication that's already done, but it would be nice for us to be aware of what and if something had already been done and get that documented, if that can be accomplished at the same time. So, but just my 2 cents. I'll yield.
Carson?
You're muted still.
That sounds good to me. So,
One additional item that did just occur to me as well is an ORAD also needs to get closed out with a certificate of compliance, so we could get both of those moving forward.
The ORAD, what is that?
So they submitted the ANRAD, the resource delineation, and
Yeah, I
then
know
it's
an
the
ANRAD,
approval
but
that goes out.
what is the ORAD?
It's like the NOI and then the OOC. You've got the ANRAD and then the approval's called the ORAD.
Okay,
But an ORAD gets closed out as well.
I didn't know you had to close those.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just
I think that
I
one
just thought
thing
of
is
it, but-
I understand what Eric's brought up there, but I think one of the issues is we might not be able to close that superseding order of conditions out if the superseding order conditions long expired. And you can't close it out unless you demonstrate that the work was done or not done. And I suspect that the Jalbert plan, Lenny was involved with it early on and with those subsequent revised drawings. And so the fact that he proposed a culvert and a replication area, I would just assume that on that original superseding order of conditions that might go back to 88, the replication was not done and the culvert was not put in. And that's why it
So
showed up.
I'm confused, because Mark Warren just said that that was back to 2022. Did I hear that wrong? Not
You
to
had it right. They were both.
1988.
Well, then you guys issued another order of conditions, and I think you tied it to this lot somehow. So that we got the original superseding order of conditions from the DEP that's expired and probably not done, so they won't issue it until this other work is done. And then we have the one from 22 or whatever that one was, and that's, I think, attached to this. I think what they're gonna do on that lot is make somebody do the replication on this lot. So I think what is, this lot's tied up with the original superseding order of conditions, and then there's a follow-up order of condition issued by your board in 22 or
2022.
2022.
Maybe we could at least get a follow-up from DEP and maybe have something in writing that says the status or if anything needs to be done.
Okay.
I think we need to go a little more specific.
Yeah, just, if we could get it cleared up. We're doing a lot of speculation, and we probably should not be speculating on things like this. We probably should have it cleared up and make sure we follow the process
How many
in
arborvitaes are
a
you putting in?
deliberate way.
They want to get a privacy hedge, so I would imagine they're going to plant them every 5 feet, maybe 6 feet. I don't know what the recommended planting on those is. I mean, you see people plant them 2 or 3 feet apart, but it's probably a little bit close, but maybe every 4 or 5 feet, and that's probably 75, maybe 25 or so.
All right, we're gonna have to have a continuation.
Okay.
of this.
August 28th.
Anybody in the audience like to speak to this before we move on? I think that I have concerns around what Eric said generally too. Overall,
What's the date? Is it August 28th, as you said?
Yes.
So if you're good with that, Mark, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing so we can clean up some of these items until August 28th.
Second. Second.
all in favor?
I'm having difficulty hearing your mic. Ed, did you call for a vote?
Yeah,
Okay.
Your vote.
Then Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Mark. See you on the 28th.
Carson, you having a party there?
Yep.
Ed, I think every time our ACs kick on, that's when they're having a hard time hearing you, so.
Notice of intent for 263 New Boston Road. Owner, Five Star Realty Trust. Applicant, representative, EBT Environmental. DEP file number 300-1166. Proposed project, a new family home.
Thank you, Conservation Commission, don't touch the microphone. Glenn Kowalski from EBT Environmental, Mr. Ken LeBlanc here also. We submitted additional documentation on the replication area by Mr. J. Dubois, DC, showing that the area we're proposing to fill is replicated 2-to-1. We did have a site inspection. Thank you to the commission and agents for going out there and looking at that area. We did analyze the soil. It does have hydric soil characteristics. As you know, this project, I'll be very brief here, started in the fourth month of '22. There was a potential vernal pool in the mapping. We proved it was 1 month too late for the commission. They wanted to stop studying that stuff in March, and that was April when I got involved or hired. So we went to '23, showed that it was drained. There's no significant water, an inch or two standing in it. Then it went on from there. Originally then BVW data forms showing that the ridge at the bottom, the ravine at the bottom of the slope that we're proposing to cross had 77% upland plants. You hired Brandon Faniff of Ecosystems. He sent a subordinate, one of his people out there, and they flagged a narrow 5 to 7 feet wide, 7 or 8 feet wide, wetland in the bottom of that. We proposed and we did hire a hydrogeologist to counter that might be a wetland by stating that this was a drained wetland from the 35-foot deep cut. I'm from the 35-foot deep cut in 2-minute perk rate gravel. There was a gravel pit down there in the 50s and 60s. The hydrologist originally had shown that it was a ponding area back in '55, the red maple swamp that is now growing with white pine and white ash, black birch, backup plant species encroaching in. The organic material is rotting and caving in because when peat moss is now exposed to air, it doesn't hold its integrity, it rots, and because underwater it doesn't have enough oxygen to rot that organic, so it is caving in. Multiple holes. The trees, the red maples, were uplifted because the area had been drained prior to the gravel pit being created. We took the hydrologist's report stating and showing, at least in that report, that this is a drained wetland. That's our contention. That's why we're growing upland plants in that ravine. But we were going to work we had the drought of '24 and ran into '25. In April is biological zero. We're 42 degrees at 19.7 feet down. You would enter, and we said we were going to study that to show there is no hydrology. The drought wasn't lifted until April of this year, the end of April. I think it was April 8th. I apologize, it was May 8th. It was lifted just in Worcester County, and that was too late to study biological zero, so then we missed that opportunity to show there's no water table. We were watching it over the winter, and we only had, the water table was still 22 inches down at all times in the test holes in that ravine. But again, couldn't study hydrology and where soils, vegetation, and hydrology are the indicators of wetland. And if you don't have hydrology, if you don't have all three of those, you don't have a wetland. We contend the reason why we have 77% upland plants is because we don't have hydrology because of the draining by the 35-foot deep cut in 2-minute perk rate gravel. That being said, we couldn't study that, so then we came back with saying we're going to go back in front of the commission with calling that narrow strip a wetland and replicate it. There was, and that's where we are now with the replication. Thank you again for that last site inspection. We observed that. The one thing that we were going to offer back, a couple of things we were going to offer, the head cut where the water leaves this wetland system and goes down into the gravel pit. When you have a low point and you cut a low point, water leaving will cut into the slope, and it's cut another 5 feet back. We would have brought that photo exhibit in. I was there last week, and the root systems are now hanging over that ravine, and it's 5 feet back with my auger laying in it from last Saturday, showing that it's keeping the cut back, and we did propose to fix that head cut so that we wouldn't keep draining this thing that's partially drained wetland. We did also propose to create that vernal pool, but the lady, Mr. LeBlanc, knows her. He went to her, and she didn't want anything to do with any machinery crossing her land to get over there, so we had to pull that back, that one thing at the end of our inspection. But we still have the head cut, and we still have boulders right on the site, so I flagged access trail that when we're building the driveway, we can cut over there and actually arrest that head cut using large boulders. No, you didn't see that point. I mean, we looked at it, but the boulders and where they are in the access point with a mini excavator dragging a skidder behind it could bring the boulders over, then we can place them and at least arrest it. At this time here in front of you, again, we're looking at that. We are putting the pipe underneath. Brandon Faniff in his report did say this could be permitted. We understand what your bylaw asks for, and we are asking for the 25 and the 50-foot waivers to cross that narrow strip, gain into access to the upland. It's a single-family house. We did go to Opakam in the conservation in 24, gain access through your parkland to go perk this. It is 2-minute perk rate. We do have vernal pools at the bottom of the slope where the gravel pit was because of the deep cut. The water's coming out at the toe of the slope. And we do have spotted salamander down there and wood frog, and we kept all work 200 feet away from the pools at the bottom of the hill. There are no pools up here, up on this upper area. In the area to our north, we are connecting it with the pipe as Brandon asked for. And again, just lastly, in his report, he did say this was permittable. We understand, again, how the bylaw reads. But we're asking for those waivers to gain access down that slope and build a single-family house on 10.4 acres. One last thing on it is that in '07, when Waterman Associates cut this property up, and eventually it was supposed to be a subdivision on that parkland to our north, but then it was supposed to be a subdivision, and then the people, as I heard was California, if I recall, sold it to the town, and now it's your parkland. But we will say that, just as in, and I know this is relevant, that in Six Picker, when we proposed that and we were crossing, we asked for the waivers to cross over, we did show to the board that there is language within 1053, within access crossing that, and I think, Ed, you disagreed with me at the beginning of that meeting, and at the end I showed, and it's in your documentation, that if there was a crossing of a wetland that is in the future after you subdivide land, something's not said to the applicant that, hey, you're leaving a wetland crossing and we don't have to give you that crossing in the future. The commission, in the language, and it brought out in 6, that the commission, it's recommended the commission tell the people, hey, you might be cutting off your upland access to this property. And we clear that didn't happen here. I'm sure that if Waterman flagged all the wetlands in that whole parcel before they cut this thing off, maybe they would have called this wetland, and maybe there would have been something said that you're cutting off your upland access. Still contending that we don't agree that it's a wetland, but we have no other place to go in 25 at this point, and we've been here since 4 of 22, so we're asking for relief in the waiver.
All right.
Glenn gave a lot of history on it. Project goes back to 2022. This has been peer reviewed. Just to know, all members present are the only members eligible to vote, and with the regulations in our quorum, we do need a vote from all 3 to move forward. There is the replication. Evix, thank you for explaining that the vernal pool restoration's somewhat out of the picture, which is unfortunate. Maybe down the road we can find ways to work with that abutter and explain the benefits of that vernal pool and maybe find a way to move forward in the future.
Is it appropriate if I add one thing into that? It's up to you, Ed. Is that the abutter was asking for Mr. LeBlanc to sell her an acre so nobody could ever come close to her. We would ask that for that, I would ask to her, you want the acre, let us dig the pool out and give you that pool back. It was a farmer's pond originally, filled in with 3 feet of mud, but it could be a potential vernal pool. We would have to, I guess there's a little twisting of arm there. You want the acre or something that buffers you, because we're right up against her. Let us have permission. That's all I can say on that point.
I think the only other, I would have asked for a detail on the vernal pool replication if that was moving forward. I think the only thing that we're still missing is a detail on the replication area. On the plan here, it still says final grade to be determined.
On that detail is easy. We've created it in 87, and we remodified it with McNeil Engine in '07, and it's a detail on how we set a stake, cut down to the elevation of the existing adjacent wetland, ensure we have hydric soil. I thought I thought Jay put it on his plans. I thought Jay put it on his plans, because I gave it to Jay. Oh, I test pits showing hydric soil at the final cut. It's at the top of the sheet number.
It is there. I lied.
We never leave it out, I just worked on a
But does it
replication
have
today
the
in Sutton.
grade?
This is my standard. Sheet 2, the reduced copy, which showing the vernal pools at the bottom.
At that.
The other copy is a blow-up. So,
Does it have the final grade though?
see what, the final grade, as it states in here, is the elevation of the existing adjacent wetland, and it's a stake by this, you'll see that there's a stake by the wetland consultant. Once we pop a hole in it, then I set the stake, and then we transit it to cut it exactly to the height, so we have hydric soils within 12 inches of the final cut, which is part of that wetland replication protocol. So these always get modified somewhat within inches to ensure that you're down deep enough, and it's not a hole in the ground like a pond, but it's also not up high where you're gonna be dry. So we always, but the reg requires hydric soils within 12 inches of the final cut. So that's what that replication area detail shows, and it shows that we're abutting directly the wetland at that knob that sticks out right after the crossing on the left-hand side.
What's the replication, what's the area? of
It's
the-
twice the size as, of the lost, as you require. So let me get to that sheet. I'm getting to it. Right here. So we wrote something up on it. It is, 881 square feet with loss of erosion. 521 loss. It's 1.5 to 1. I believe that's your requirement. 521 loss again, 1.5. 881. It's a small, this is very narrow, and Brandon did agree. Somebody took the clicker. But anyways, this thing, extremely narrow, you bet there. Oh, touch that microphone. That's coming out of the room.
Eric?
I'm supposed to touch that.
So Glenn,
Yes, sir.
aside from the hardship piece, which we've talked about my position on that in the past, so.
Yes, sir.
But there's some other things that need to be addressed here, obviously. Brandon had some concerns over just the wetland delineation in general. Your acceptance in this plan, does that acquiesce in total to his concern in the peer review? Or are there still pieces of his peer review that you take, you oppose, that we still need to settle in our discussion here tonight?
Thank you for asking. He had two areas that, just that narrow strip, but he just showed 521, I believe was the number. But also, as you go further in on the left-hand side, there was another area he called his subordinate called, who now works at Weston Nursery. And he called that a wetland, and when he came out and looked at it, he did agree that his subordinate was incorrect, and we reflagged that. That area is a self-contained depression and not the whole. It's delineated on the plan, Lauren, if I need a clicker. If you aim in the right direction, I bet you they work.
They've all been dying. If it's not working, we've.
You don't mind me getting up?
Go.
You want this gun?
Thank you.
It's electronic distant measure, just don't press the buttons.
Just push on.
It's on.
It's up here, Ron.
Glenn, could you get in front of a mic so Carsten and I can hear?
Right, thank you, sir. That area, originally his people had said that this wetland line was connected, this is a upland knob. It's about 4 or 5 feet above. He said it connected up here and then came back. So when we were out there, he did agree that that was wrong and that this was isolated compared to, with that border. So the other area, if we come back to the crossing, he did contend, even though I had 77% upland plants, with the black birch, the white pine, the mountain laurel, the hay-scented fern. I'm running out, and he said that was, so I'm not gonna argue, I'm not arguing with Brandon. To Eric, I'm not arguing any longer with Brandon, because if we continue arguing, this will go on. We're saying we'll replicate what he calls wetland, because we can't prove that it doesn't have hydrology this year, because it was a drought at the time that you would prove hydrology wasn't there. So we,
You've already
Okay.
said that.
So.
well, he
that
wanted to know, do I
said-
agree with Brandon? I'm gonna agree to this point, because we're hoping to move forward and just replicate that square footage that Brandon is calling a wetland.
That's why you're here tonight, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's not like court when you have to find yourself guilty and you have to admit to the judge, no, I was guilty. I'm saying we're gonna go along with Brandon.
I've never done anything wrong.
Understood.
I guess I've never been here
Understood.
either.
Lauren, do you agree with that assessment? That-
I did just, our regulations are 2 to 1 for replication. As far as the wetland, I mean, I haven't checked the hydrology and I haven't gone out with an auger. I've only looked at the vegetation, but you paid for, or I should say the applicant paid for a third-party review, and to not inquire any additional expense by deliberating this matter any further, I would recommend moving forward with Brandon's recommendation that that is a wetland that is being filled, hence a replication area, which is required at a 2 to 1 ratio.
So we are stuck at this point,
What,
Go ahead.
just so I'm clear, with the applicant accepting Brandon's lines for purposes of moving forward, and the major contention that we need to settle is around whether or not this was a hardship that was created of their own creation, and how we need to deal with this. Because otherwise, the wetland replication and what would need to be done to allow for that driveway to go through that area has been covered in this plan to your satisfaction. But what we need to figure out is how we need to deal with the hardship that has been created here, and whether or not we are willing to accept a waiver or provide a waiver.
I think that's two separate things. I think we should provide a waiver, and we are not, obligated on the hardship end of this at all. I think they're talking way out of the realm. So, that said, I'd like to see it go to 2 to 1.
yes, sir.
Rather than 1.5 to 1, and move it forward. How you feel about that, Eric? That's where I'd like to see it go. The spot where they have plans for a house that we've all seen, great, the road in, not great, but it obviously crosses, what I would consider, a wetland, so I think we're. I'm only one vote, and we need all 3 votes tonight.
What I'm hearing you say, Ed, is that you have become comfortable with providing the waiver for the self-made hardship, but the offset is we need strict adherence to the 2-to-1 replication.
Right. That's what I said.
Okay. I think I can live with that as well, but I would like to see the proposed replication on the plan for the next meeting for us to weigh in on and make sure that, or maybe have Lauren work with Glenn to make sure that that fulfills what our needs are before we take action on a vote. That's just my 2 cents.
Sounds good. I mean, it's not 2-to-1 replication yet, or?
No.
They've agreed that they'll go to, I would like to vote it tonight because we need the 3 votes, and I don't know where you guys are gonna be next time. It's been a struggle. So unless you 2 guys want to guarantee that you're gonna make the next meeting, I think we should go ahead and move this along and have
Lauren. Still Lauren.
handle it.
Lauren, do you feel that's acceptable?
Receiving a revised plan with showing the 2-to-1, which,
With a condition that
I-
it needs to be signed off and approved by you.
right.
I can live with that.
I mean,
Okay.
an alternative would be you can close the hearing tonight and then issue a decision at the special meeting that we're having, but if that's the only thing that's holding up the decision, I would recommend you move forward with the condition that, the proper replication area be provided that conforms with the Sturbridge wetland bylaw prior to any work starting, or any pre-construction meetings or anything of that nature to make sure we have the final plan, which can be done.
I can live with that.
I think Glenn has a question or comment as well.
I don't want to, sometimes the as-built at the end, so it's a condition, but the as-built would reflect the 2-to-1, and the plan would be coming in within a few days. But if there's a problem with closing and citing the plan that you have now, we could have, again, in the order that the as-built reflects the 2-to-1. But you still would get.
I would have that in the conditions
And, well,
regardless,
you're gonna get
even
the
if you gave
2-to-1
me a
plan
2-to-1.
by probably Monday, Tuesday. This was an error on, I did tell Jay to get 2-to-1. He's doing a lot of 1-to-1, other towns are 1.5-to-1, and I think he just carried it over and we didn't catch it.
And with standards with, I mean, my preferences with conditions for replications are obviously monitoring too, so that's something that either, if the applicant is either hiring you or another consultant to monitor the replication area throughout the process and ensure survival for minimal growing seasons. So this would kind of go through,
2 years, yes.
yes.
I have a motion. Eric?
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Audience, all right. All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 263 New Boston Road, DEP file number 300-1166, I'd like to make a motion to provide a waiver for disturbance within the 25-foot non-disturb zone and a waiver for a new structure within the 50-foot buffer zone.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
With regards to the project at 263 New Boston Road, DEP file number 300-1166, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project under the Wetland Protection Act pursuant to the conditions laid out in the draft order of conditions and the additional conditions just discussed as part of the general comments here in this meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Thank you.
With regards to the project at 263 New Boston Road, don't walk out yet, Glenn.
I'm not.
DEP file number 300-1166, I'd like to make a motion to approve the project under the Sturbridge Wetland Bylaw with the conditions that will be in the order of the conditions and the ones that we have discussed during the comments today, and the additional condition of a $6,000 surety bond or cash deposit to be paid back at the completion of the project and a successful certificate of compliance.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor.
Glenn, you did it.
Well, thank you for all your time, the commission. Thank you very
Cheers.
much. And Lauren and the staff, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
No,
job,
thank
Glenn.
you, people. We'll see you again soon.
Been here for 3 years. Wow. I like got my hand.
Continuation of a public hearing, notice of intent for 57 Bennett's Road. Owner applicant is Danny Meachhoff, DP file number 300-1237. Proposed project, landscaping project.
Evening. Since we last met, we've been working on the water softener, backflush discharge area, and we consulted with Mark Farrell from Green Hill Engineering, and we're now proposing.
Which plan, do you want up this one or the other one?
All right.
No.
Okay. So this would be the lakeside. I guess we start with this, and then we can talk about
Okay.
the other one. We're proposing to put this backflush area in the front yard instead of being close to the lake over here. Basically, you'd be able to exit the house at that point, and this Mark's plan has a little bit more detail than mine, and okay, here we go. So here's the front of the house. This is the area I was talking about, this being the lake. I had mentioned this area. Mark also proposed an alternative location for this leaching area across the road. It would be a lot more expensive to do that, and there's some unknowns in terms of there's a lot of shallow ledge in the area, but you know that may be possible. We were asking if this could be considered. Mark has mentioned let's see.
Can we put up to the full screen?
What's that?
Can we put this up at the full screen?
Sorry, thought I was sharing it. My mistake.
Okay, thanks.
All right. What Mark had proposed was a 2-foot wide, 10-foot long trench where there was a foot to foot and a half of crushed stone underneath and a perforated pipe on top of that for that water to be able to leach out. Back that up with a sort of a hedgerow of salt-tolerant rugosa rose, and we think this would be a big improvement over the current location over here. There was, I think probably if we can just talk about the water softener at first, and there was a few changes on the planting plan as well, but I'd welcome comments about the leaching area. In terms of well, we have it up. Some changes with the planting, we've added a shade tree, a Acer rubrum, red maple, and then 3 additional clethra or sweet pepper bush. There were 4, we've added 2 more, to 6. But I think the biggest improvement certainly is the relocation of that discharge area. So, yeah, that's the changes we are proposing.
As far as the landscaping aspect of it, I think majority of the concerns have been met. We're getting some additional vegetation. We're getting stabilization on that bank, especially where the mulch is. Solving some erosion problems. The biggest thing in question was the water softener, which I'll go back to Mark's plan here, which does show the 2. Let that car go. Which my recommendation was to have both on the plan here for the commission to be able to see. One that is across the street where the septic is, which as was explained, would be much more costly to the applicant, requires Board of Health permitting as well for the gray water and trenching and drainage going under the road, versus the infiltration up in the front. I did speak with Board of Health, and it cannot be discharged into the septic, so that kind of rules that out. Although the pipe wouldn't have to be too large.
Did he say that it couldn't be? put
It
into
is
the septic?
prohibited.
What?
It is prohibited. You
why
cannot
is that?
discharge gray water into septic.
Why is that?
I did not ask the specific reason, I just asked if it was allowable.
So, really, the gist of the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to put gray water that is banned from the sewer system into the lake? I mean, that's the issue here. It's a simple issue. Put it on the hillside, it's going to find its way. We all know that. Mark, what's the rest of the lake doing?
I don't know, but I do know that it's the DEP's stance on water softeners going in there is to not have it go into the septic system.
Right.
And so what I've been told is the best management practice, just put it in a place where it's not gonna impact vegetation. So that back corner of the lake over there, it just went uncontrolled on the ground and can kill some of the vegetation on that banking up in there. But by the time it gets to the lake, it doesn't look like there's any harm to the trees or having some sort of salt damage. The best management, what they suggest you do is to put it like underneath the deck. So, put stone there, just put it on top of underneath the deck and just let it infiltrate in, there's no vegetation under there. So that's when Mike called me and Dan called me and was looking for some suggestions, and that's when we came up with that on it's a little bit outside the 50-foot zone. We're putting salt-tolerant shrubs below it. So that's kind of what I think is the best place to put it. The option going across the road is just a lot of ledge there, so I'm not even sure they can get a pipe through there. You gotta have it buried going across the road. You gotta have some cover over it, a foot, so you might try to dig a trench across that road and just hit ledge.
Yeah.
So I think going across the street is going to be not only more expensive, but problematic getting there's not much grade change either. The other one you'd have to do is let it go by gravity, because you can't pump it uphill. You got to let it drain, and there's not very much pitch between the corner of his house where the water softener is and the other side of the road.
Karsten and Eric, could you hear any of that? Okay.
one recycle, how much volume?
How much water?
How much, yeah, water, salt water?
I would probably say 20 or 30 gallons, maybe 50 gallons. And I think that trench is big enough that it would allow it to, it's a perforated pipe on top of it, soak into the stone, and then soak into the ground.
And then, how often are we doing it? Every 2 weeks?
So, depending on
Depends on
use.
usage, right.
Yeah.
Could be once a week.
Yeah.
Shoot, that other slide, the plan that I had done up,
On this one?
yeah, where it's discharging now. So along the shore, all that vegetation is fine. I mean, it's not like it's killing the vegetation. There's pine trees there. It's been going that way for a while. It's just initially when it hits the ground before it soaks in, he had some shrubbery planted in there, and over time, it succumbed to the, you know, the higher concentrations of salt. But I think by the time it got down to the shorefront, those trees are fine.
I looked it up today, I just Googled it, and it said absolutely do not put the backwash from water softeners into the lake. That's what, and it was clear, gave me 2 solid paragraphs. I tried to print it out, I couldn't get the damn thing to print out, but,
Yeah.
but it said no, it's a no-no, and it, obviously, you know.
Well, they're not discharging directly to the lake, they're putting it in the ground. And I think that whether we put it in above the deck, where it is now, under the deck or across the road, that's all in the watershed of the lake. So the groundwater is seeping that direction. And so chlorides run with groundwater. I mean, they don't get hung up in the soil, so it's going to it's not a direct, you know, they're not putting in a pipe right into the lake, so I'm not sure what website it was, but. It's just the water is really basically just higher in chlorides, and it has manganese and iron, whatever the two they're trying to take out there. So,
Right, they also have particular salts that,
they what?
there are particular salts that they recommend versus other salts that they absolutely don't. Eric?
Hey, Lauren, I mean, are we at a crossroads here? I mean, are there any other suggestions to cure this concern? Aside from a significant economic harm? And we know that there's a problem right now. Does this plan improve on the issue that we're having at this moment?
At this point, with the plan that's being proposed of the 2 options that are before you for the discharge, I do not believe there are any other options other than those 2. And
And one is an order of magnitude more expensive than the other.
And
So,
regardless, either one is an improvement for what is there now. Is either one the perfect solution? I don't know. We could, within the conditions, we could put something for just simple soil testings too. Once the system is installed, if the option closer to the house was what went forward, we could, do some soil testings to see the absorption rate.
what exactly is the financial difference between these solutions? just to be a bit more concrete?
It's a bit of an unknown, but it's certainly thousands.
How much?
Thousands.
How many thousands?
Like I said, it's an unknown, but I would venture to say it, 5 to 10,000.
How much?
5 to 10,000.
Okay.
And that's also, I don't know if that would include, like I said, you would need Board of Health permits for the tank across the street, and I don't know what, I mean, Mark would know more because he files more. I don't know how strict his requirements are with permitting too. I mean, at least you have an engineered plan, but I don't know if he needs the details.
All right, follow-up question. We spent a significant portion of our discussions in all of these meetings around this water softener problem. Let's talk about the total project impact. And, you know, how do you feel this site is performing with all of the other work that's being proposed as well, and the additional piece of this water softening question? Do we feel like we are making a significant improvement to the overall performance of the site by allowing for what is being proposed with the mitigations, and also accepting that we have to still figure out this water softener issue?
If the water softener were completely out of the picture and we weren't even talking about this at all, I would say that we have a significant improvement, partially because of the existing condition of the bank. You all saw
Yeah.
how it's eroding. You all saw the mulch that's being washed in. So, you know, the applicant has removed the concept of the shed off and put a 10 by 10 stone patio, permeable stone patio. We're getting a whole lot more vegetation. We're getting a shade-bearing tree, so there is great improvement. It will help with some of the erosion that's coming from the sides of the property because, as we know, water goes downhill, and unfortunately, the homeowner lives at one of those properties that's at the base of a steep area with road runoff.
Yep.
And I think that there is tremendous improvement, even just from the most basic things. If you're thinking of snow plowing in the winter and everything that's now, in addition to what's already vegetated, now you have that extra mitigation that's catching any of that runoff from the roads as well, from the rainstorms. We've been getting a lot more sheet flow and heavy rainfall in short periods of time. So I think that we are getting a great improvement to the bank, specifically with that stabilization and getting another shade-bearing tree. I think the biggest question is just the water softener issue.
Okay. But overall,
I
this
would see
site is going
improvement.
to perform significantly better. Like, if we were to accept the less costly, the less costly path, which is not perfect, this site is still going to perform significantly better than as it stands there today.
Correct.
So Eric, going back to your philosophy of life,
I know.
everyone else on the lake can do the same thing, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, they can't, but I get what your point. I'm not taking this lightly, Ed.
I mean, at the moment, the water softener is just flying into the lake.
Right.
And so, even if we don't approve the project, it will continue flying into the lake. So, is there a possibility to say that after 5 years we have to revisit the issue? Maybe there are better technological solutions to the problem at that stage, or?
I think if anything, this is one project that we learn yet another question that we ask for future development projects, because when this water softener was put in 10 years ago, and we obviously there was no permit to install a water softener in the home. That's not anything that goes through our department. However, the area where it's discharging, it should have. So we have no idea how many water softeners in town are discharging into lakes or wetlands or where they're going, because it's just not something that, those permits never come through my office. I never see them. So this is something that if anything, we're learning, and perhaps another question that when we're looking at projects that are redevelopment, new homes, that we ask questions like we do with, similar to sump pumps. Where are you, if you have to have a sump pump, where is this gonna discharge? And it's another question that we ask that, hey, you're doing this new home, do you need a water filtration system? Where is that going to go? Where is that going to discharge? Because that's not in our standard realm of questions, because, it's inside the house. It's not something that we're thinking about. And this brought light to an issue that perhaps we didn't know we had.
I agree with you completely. But Mike, as I said, I went online this afternoon and quickly took a look at Google, and it went through knowledge. Not a lot of knowledge, but I was in, as they say, it was 2 paragraphs as to types of salt to be used and so forth and so forth and so forth. I think, we're being told it's going to cost thousands of dollars to put it across the road, and it probably doesn't make any sense. But I do think that we should be looking for more information from the applicant. We shouldn't have to be the ones that are going out and finding it out. Dumping salt in the lake is bad. Recharging an iron sludge into the lake is bad. Put it on a hillside and it's gonna go in there. And it's cumulative, and it's every 2 weeks, and it's 50 gallons or whatever it is it washes in. Period. It's not gonna be pretty. They don't even want it in the septic systems in town, because it'll gunk them up, I'm sure. I'd like to get more information before we make this decision from the applicant.
I'd support that idea, and I'd like also to give Floor an opportunity to weigh in on this.
If I couldn't hear you, you moved away from it.
He wants Florida to weigh in on it.
What?
He wants Floor's opinion.
Yeah, that's the other plus of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I offer a thought too?
Sure.
Because obviously we have 2 aspects of the project. You have the landscaping and then the water softener issue. As a means in agreement with the applicant to essentially kind of separate these, we could try to move forward with the landscaping aspect of it. And because we know that we do have a problem and we do have the water solvent that's discharging into the lake, dealing with that through a permitting process depending on where that's going. If it's going across the lake or if it's going in within the 100, we could do that under a bylaw permit and put it under, if the applicant agrees to it, under our radar as an enforcement action for illegal discharge into the lake. So that way, there's still some accountability for getting the matter resolved. If we view the discharge of the water as an enforcement action, to be able to move forward with the landscaping aspect.
I'm probably not so comfortable with that, because I think we ultimately lose leverage to enforce the water softener, because there doesn't seem to be any regulations at all at the moment. So I would just think we go with Ed, ask for more information, and make a decision next time. Because enforcement issues become, in my experience, very difficult to enforce. And we don't want to spend more money on legal counsel, since we are also limited in that respect. So
You could put it as a condition too, that the open enforcement matter needs to be resolved prior to issuance of a certificate of compliance and release of the bond. I'm just throwing it out as an option.
I like your idea better than that. That sends it out further.
In addition to the idea of separating it as an enforcement issue, but putting it on an order of conditions that there is an open enforcement issue regarding the illegal discharge of water into the lake, and that prior to issuance of a certificate of compliance and release of a bond, the enforcement matter needs to get closed. I'm just throwing that out as an option, and another way to be able to move forward.
Eric?
I think it's novel. I like the idea. I'd still probably like to give Floor an opportunity to weigh in, and I think, I don't know that we're going to be in a significantly different position or ability to get this work completed if we approve this on August 28th. Just my 2 cents. But I love thinking outside the box, so thank you for the option.
Can we just clarify the deliverables that you would like from the applicant, just so it's clear of the exact information that you're looking for him to get? Is it just the cost of what that project would cost to do it, or what is the exact information, just so I can also help him get that information and make sure that you have it?
Just water softeners around lakes are nationwide. Somebody has to be doing it right. We're not. We need to find out where it's being done well and mimic it. And I don't think that, taking it 5 miles away from the lake is the solution, but there's got to be a way to do it. I'm not an engineer. As I say, when I went in and they listed clearly salts that you should use and salts that you definitely should not use.
Yes.
I certainly didn't know it on my,
And I believe the homeowner did speak with some water softener companies, and that there were specific types of salt that were not recommended because of the hardness of his water. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
that's the person that was brought up by the.
No, we've discussed this in the past. Also, every contractor that I've talked to about the water system, this is standard practice everywhere. That's what they tell me. This is how we do it. And, if it's a town issue, because I can probably with certainty guarantee I would be the only person pumping my water someplace from a discharge like this on the lake. And so and I wanted to do this to out of good faith, and now it's been 3 months and it's going to be another month here. And we have people not here to make the decisions. It's just going on, and I don't know what more I can do. I mean, when I call the people, they say, this is how we do it. This is standard practice. And by the time it gets to the lake, they ask me, they all ask me, does your town sand the road? I said, well, yeah. Well, that's way worse for the lake than your water being discharged in there. That's what they tell me. But they don't give me data, to prove that. But that's what they're telling me. If they sand that road, it's doing the same thing. And they do. It's a dirt road that they sand.
I understand that.
All I wanted was a little landscaping project. I didn't want this.
I know.
But if I walk away from this now, I'm going to still have to fix this, correct?
Right.
Okay, so I've made a big mistake.
Any other comments?
I don't know, Ed, I gotta be honest, I don't know that I'm clear as to specifically what we're expecting the applicant to come back with, and I know that this is a tough one. I'm just trying to see if we can provide them some direction here as to what is gonna make you feel more comfortable at the next meeting. I know that, we're gonna have a different quorum and 4 votes and all of that stuff available to us. But I'm struggling to understand what you're asking for.
Well, plan, in my opinion, top of the hill, doesn't work. And even Even the applicant has admitted that. I mean, you know, maybe the best solution there is, but if it's the best solution there is, you know, are there specific salts that we can require? Are there different treatments that you can put into the contained area to... Have you ever seen what the coagulant looks like that comes out, Eric? It's not pretty.
Yeah, I'm fortunate that I don't have to worry about that, so maybe I should do a little bit of research. I'm just trying to, you know, if I'm unclear, I just want to make sure out of fairness to the applicant that we give the proper direction. But accepting that, I'm also asking for an opportunity for Florida to weigh in on this.
All right.
So, if the applicant and his agent's okay, I'd like to propose that that they ask for a continuance until the 28th of August on this. And try to
28th,
provide
right?
some additional information around the relative impact of this proposed plan on the lake and give us some information on why it's the best option and allow for us to have Flor have a chance to weigh in with their opinion as well.
Water softener. Eric? Can you hear me?
What was that?
We've agreed we're really only talking about the water softener.
That's true. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Continuation?
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing until August 28th.
Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor?
Ed Goodwin in favor. Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate your patience. I know this is challenging. Thank you, folks.
All right. We are now continued public hearing for the request to amend an order of conditions, DEP file number 300-1200. It's an approved project, transmission line replacement, installation of new poles, and tree removal request. Who's up for that?
The applicant has requested a continuation to August 28th pending the
Oh, okay, I
work
got
of
it,
the
yeah.
associated DEP number.
All right? Continuation?
With regards to DEP file number 300-1200, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing until August 28th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Continue the public hearing for notice of intent for 346 Lead Mine Road. Owner is AJ Services LLC, applicant representative Dave Sadowski, DEP file number 300-1226, proposed new project, a new single-family home.
Evening, Mr. Chairman and board members, and interested public. With me tonight, I know on the screen I saw EJ. Elias Montero is also online. He's involved with AJ Services. What we've done is since the last meeting, we've revised the plan. We've added 21 plantings along the driveway section. The plantings are 7 red chokeberry, 7 buttonbush, and 7 silky dogwood. The chokeberry have flowers in the spring. They're a FACW. Those red berries are very persistent. They act as a food source in the wintertime for animals, and they also provide shelter. The buttonbush is a global-shaped flower in summer. It prefers soils with fluctuating hydrology. The nutlets are ideal for ducks to eat and other
animals. These explanations are in the box right there that I'm reading. And then the silky dogwood is a fact W. It's fast-growing in clumps. It forms medium-sized shrubs. Blue fruits are there, and they're eaten by many animals. They're preferred by those. It provides excellent nesting. These 21 different plants that would be put in would be 1-1-1. They would be sequential like that, so we'd have different blooming at different time. They'll provide a buffer toward the wetland. We've adjusted the hardwood trees. We don't have them as close together up by the house. We have 3 in that area now. We've moved 2 more into the area of the septic system, onto the bank of the system. What the roots will do is they'll provide stability to the soil in that area. We've also explored, and we're going to be able to put a full foundation in. The house is over 50 feet from the wetlands now. We will not need a waiver for it, and we'll have a full foundation at that septic area. The one thing we'd be asking for would be the 25 and 50 for the driveway. We would not need it for the building of the house itself. And I'm ready for any questions.
As the applicant stated, a waiver is needed at this point for the driveway going in the 50 and the 100. Concerns still remain for the disturbance of the driveway being that close to the buffer and just ongoing maintenance. As all the members know and the applicant is aware, there was some confusion in the last meeting as far as what was allowable activity. So test pits were dug, some trees were removed to dig the test pits without any SCC permits. So a cease and desist was issued, and then a notice of violation was issued shortly after for failure to put the erosion controls in. Since then, there have been some additional trees that have fallen in the back area of the lot. And we've seen, what a revision are we up to? 8, 7, 8, 9, several revisions of this plan. I know, unfortunately, Flora is not here today, but I know at the last meeting she had made her concerns on the driveway, but it's for the commission to discuss.
Through the chair, I'd like to refute. First of all, Flora asked about plantings to be put along that driveway to act as a buffer. Those are her concerns. And also, the erosion controls have been put on the site.
They have been.
That wasn't just noted by you. Also, I'd like to go back and look at the record of the meeting and see when the chairman told me it would be a good idea to go out and find out if that foundation could be done by digging test pits, when he said it would be the thing for us to do. Can we bring back those minutes? I have the timelines on them.
We haven't got that kind of time. I agree with you that I said that. No problem with that.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking for the same thing that Glenn asked for. Glenn crossed a wetland. I'm just looking for a 25 and 50 by being near it. And we've been most accommodating with this, anything that's come up to try to do for this board. I'm just going to put that out there. We don't have any replication whatsoever. We're not filling 1 square foot of wetland on this project. We've actually taken land from a next door lot and included that so we get the driveway further away. That wasn't noted.
Can you bring the house, the current house plan up?
On that plan in the corners, like it was talked about, there were 2 test pits dug, and we get down 8 feet in each one of them. We didn't have any sign of modeling. We're confident we can put a full foundation in for the house.
This is a big change from where you started.
It is. We started at 42 feet away, we started at 50, we started with putting some piers in. We talked about not being able to go in the hill, but once we dug the test pits and we found out that we could get down the 8 feet, we're gonna be able to put a full foundation in for that house.
Where is, all right. Where are the boundaries on this property? Is this, can you,
Want me to go by the house or the driveway?
yeah.
The boundary is over there on the
Yeah.
left-hand side, the boundary on this side is over here on the right. There's still a septic system that's been proposed and been submitted. It's been reviewed and approved, but it hasn't been approved with the new lot line yet. Well, we're 51 feet up from the wetland with the house, and we're talking about a full basement, full foundation.
The driveway is,
You can see there's a 25-foot offset line, and then there's the driveway, the 25-foot offset line. Down in this area here on the right-hand side going in, we dip into the 25-foot offset line. And we show all those plantings of the bushes to go up along the side of this driveway to act as another barrier. And we talk about putting in 3 replacement red maples, which they'll add shade, and they'll also add cover to that area. And we're gonna put 2 rows of erosion control in that area to run up along the edge of on one side of the plantings and then one side on the edge of the driveway. Again, we don't have 1 square foot of wetlands that we're filling. We don't have to replicate anything.
So are you replicating or are you not replicating?
No, we're not filling 1 square foot of wetlands. We're not replicating.
Why not? Don't we? I mean, you go through the wetlands
No, we're not. We don't go into the wetland.
with a structure, I mean, with a driveway.
The driveway doesn't go in the wetland.
It's
Goes
within the, oh, it's within the 25-foot zone.
Yes, it's in the 25-foot buffer. You can see wet flag 12, wet flag 13, 14, 15. The driveway's outside of the wetland line.
Okay, it's outside the wetland, but within the 25 and 50 zone.
That's correct.
Right, okay. Okay, Lauren, I had a question. I mean, you raised some concern about the structural integrity of the driveway, and you don't think that it will last. Can you explain that maybe a little bit more?
I think it's more just the long-term maintenance. There are regulations, and in every order of conditions, we do have the standard condition compliant with the bylaw that says the prohibited use of road salts, which is obviously a regulation that is hard to enforce. But it's just kind of, we've walked that ground, and I'm just concerned that whether it was driveway or whether it was gravel, just ensuring that it does not need to be repaved every few years, that there won't be any erosion into the slope. Obviously, adding any types of berms or swales or any other additional disturbance you're doing on the sides of the driveway will be greater disturbance into the 25, so I'm not quite sure how to mitigate that without doing more disturbance into the wetland.
the updated calculations have been provided?
For stormwater?
Yeah.
No.
We're waiting on those.
I mean, technically, it's not required because it's a single-family home. They were just provided for the first version of the plan.
Eric?
So, what I'm struggling with, Dave, is first, we can have a civil conversation. I understand that these processes can be a little bit contentious, but we don't need to attack each other. That said, I would like to see some wetland replication for an offset of allowing into the 25 foot. You know, you had mentioned Glenn's project. Well, there was a 2-to-1 replication for what we had requested there. And it's not just solely because it was he accepted the wetland line and it was a crossing there. So it's within our rights to ask for that. That said, Lauren, is there a location, if we were to ask for a replication, that you would recommend that go? And DEP seemed to think a 1-to-1 replication would be sufficient, so I would certainly be okay with the P's recommendation there, not ask for 2-to-1, but I don't know where would be the best place for that to be recommended to go. Lauren, do you have a recommendation?
I mean, right off the back, I don't have anything at this time, but compliant with the standard recommendations for replication area, similar soil type, similar grade. Typically, they're done in a location within a close proximity of what is being filled or what is being disturbed. There is a lot of wetland on this site, but there definitely is some area where replication could be added, and just kind of taking a glance at the grades, their grades are pretty similar down in that area too. I mean, I don't know if we really want to necessarily promote it going closer to this driveway area, but it looks like the grades are pretty similar up in here, but that would have to be, I can't give you a specific location, just kind of looking at it quickly at this moment.
That's fair. I put you on the spot. I don't have a good answer for that either at this moment. But if that was something that we could ask for, we could we provision it and have the applicant agree to the 1-to-1 with an agreement to have them work with the agent? Would that be proper, Lauren, or is that an improper?
I'd be more comfortable with it going to the commission.
Huh?
I would be more comfortable with it coming to the commission.
Okay. All right. That's fair. It's completely fair. Completely fair. Okay. And just on the full basement, I mean, I appreciate the work that you guys have done to pull that out of the 50. With the full basement, though, obviously we're talking considerably more disturbance, and I understand that square footage can be important for certain things and storage and whatnot. But what was the rationale, aside from just more square footage for storage and whatnot, of expanding the footprint off of the slab and into a full basement? Or I think it was the crawl space that was in there before. Seems like we've taken a couple of steps forward, which is great, and then maybe one step back there.
Through the chair, I'd like to answer that. The chairman actually asked for a full foundation. He thought the house would be more secure if it was a full foundation instead of a half foundation. That was the reason.
Okay.
I don't think he was arguing that.
I asked for a reason. I got it. Okay. That all you?
Within that, I went up and looked at it after you had put the 8 bales. It was all set when I went up there, except for you guys, obviously, when they did the excavation of the holes, they popped a couple of huge boulders, and rather than fill them back in, they just popped them down the hill. There were 2, I think.
Through the chair, there are 2, and those would be at the edge of where the new foundation would go in. There'd be almost like a buffer to not work into the wetland area. Those could be moved.
Yeah, so when you excavate this thing, how are you going to remove everything from the site? Build the foundation to build it?
If we could bring the drawing back down. There's an area where we show, up by the house, we show placing some boulders between the red maples to act as a barrier so you wouldn't go down into the wetland.
Where is
It says boulder line from excavation. I mean, wait a minute, I got my, this one will work. Right in here, those are all boulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We propose putting 7 boulders with the 3 maples to act as a buffer so nobody will go into the 25-foot buffer.
We're working hard to keep that 50-foot. And you're redesigning the 25. I don't think that's really...
We showed those boulders there from at least 3 revisions ago. If you don't want the boulders there, we don't have to put them. We thought they'd act as a barrier so nobody would go toward the wetland with any type of work in the future.
Yeah, but
If you would like them removed from the site, as a condition, we'd remove them from the site. Also, on the 1-to-1 replication, do you want us to replicate the 25-foot buffer zone what would the number be?
I would think that, I would like to see at a minimum the 25-foot buffer zone replicated, but there's also within the 50-foot buffer, there's no new structure of which the driveway would qualify for that. So I would certainly look at it more favorably if when you put your plan together, it kind of contemplated replicating everything inside of the 50-foot to compensate for that. But this is a conversation, and I'm just one vote, so I'll leave that to your discretion to figure out what you think is most prudent to propose here. I did forget to ask one question from Lauren's comments about additional fallen trees that seem to, through no action of your own, but they have fallen for whatever reason. All of these would seem are going to be, or a significant number of trees would seem that we're going to be impacted potentially or inside of that 100-foot buffer. How are we going to monitor the health and viability of the trees and the root systems in there to make sure that we don't lose a significant number of trees? Lauren, is there a suggestion there that we could provide the applicant or a condition that could be put in there?
As a suggestion, you could have a arborist assess the health of the trees that are outside of the limit of work, which I still don't know if the limit of work has been clearly marked on the plan. But we could have recommend or put it on the conditions that an arborist assess the current health of them and that health be monitored or assessed again prior to the issuance of the certificate of compliance, and anything that has fallen be replaced. That's kind of just been one of my concerns since the beginning is, all those trees on the ledge. If you're cutting out a huge portion of them, so, trees kind of work as a buddy system, and when you kind of cut all their friends down, they start to fall, which we're already starting to see, and a lot of those on the ledge are not in the healthiest condition. I'm just worried of more trees falling and the future homeowner of this property coming to us multiple times with a request for tree removal, and if mitigation's, possible ahead of time, or getting the health assessment of those ahead of time helps us and helps the homeowner. That's something you could look at.
Okay. Dave, could you answer Lauren's question about the limited clearing? Is it? I kind of read that as where the erosion control barrier was going to be going, but is that an incorrect assumption?
That's not an incorrect assumption. It's actually listed in the notes that the erosion control barrier would be the limit of work.
Okay.
What about on the rear?
On the rear, it's only where it shows the septic system there and where it shows the house. It doesn't show any grading going any further up, so it'd be the back of those structures.
They're all dying.
Nothing got fixed since the last meeting.
They're all dying. I was waiting for my new budget, for my money to come in. So just based off that comment, if I went out for a final inspection, I would expect the trees that are right here at the edge of the back of the house and at the edge of the septics to still be there when we go to close out, if we go to close out.
Correct. Well, there's a 5-foot overdig on the top of the septic, so 5 feet off the edge of the line. If you went out, those trees would still be there above that. The same thing. I show an interceptor. Excuse me, through the microphone. I show an interceptor swale 7 or 8 feet above the top of the house. That would be the end of the limit of work that way.
One last question pertinent to the A&R and the change in status on the property. How does the hardship status fall into play here? And what do we need to consider?
previously the lot was established prior to the Wetland Protection Act, and now it's a new lot, new recorded, so it is for the board to discuss if, since this is a new lot, if a hardship was created for making that new lot line, knowing what the access was. And I know that historically has been a big conversation for other projects, Six Bicker being a big one.
Right. This is why we don't shoot ready aim. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I am having a problem with the limit of work on the lower side. I mean, we're starting with the driveway, and I appreciate the plantings that you're doing, but I mean, you're really tight to the wetland. All the way up, and the 50-foot no touch up higher along the building, you're looking at an erosion control barrier, which is like 50 feet away from the building. I mean,
There's a 25-foot offset line there, and the erosion control barrier is on top of that. That's maybe 22 feet from the building, an area for a construction vehicle to work. And then there's a stockpile area to the left, and we've tightened up the bales, the line over in that area. It's only about 8 or 9 feet from the building. And then there's a driveway on the right-hand side. That distance is 22 feet tops. There's going to have to be materials taken. They can't be pushed up on the hill. They're going to be coming back down as the work goes.
well, they can be removed from the site.
Correct.
That's,
And we agree, we will do that. We'd be outside the 25.
You're inside the 25 now. I mean,
No, I'm saying it on the construction of the house. I'm sorry.
I haven't got one either.
I do. Let me go to mine. It actually will work. This is the 25 here.
Right.
That's the no disturb. The erosion control is about 28 feet, and then it gets further away up in here. There's a stockpile area right here, and in here would be where the work would go, and then we're gonna do some plantings here. Those plantings are about 32, 33 feet away, the red maples. We thought we'd put some boulders in between to make a barrier so that the homeowner in the future would not go into the 25 or go toward the wetland. That was the only reason for the boulders. Those boulders can be taken away from the site. But this would just be the only work area that we would have, because you can't go up the hill with any of the spoil piles. They would go here.
Well, you can go sideways.
Right, well, we could put trucks here and put stuff on the truck and take it out.
In the stockpile, that's, how far is that from the wetland?
Well, a 50-foot buffer, 25-foot buffer is here, the stockpile would be 38, 40 feet, and then there would be the erosion control between it. I just tried to show an area on the site where it could go. It'll be taken away and put on a truck and taken out. I mean, I guess if we wanted to talk about replication, somewhere down in this area where it dips down in, we could easily drag the soil back here till we get to the hydric layer where we have, models between 0 and 12 inches, and then be able to put wetland plantings here and square this whole area off.
How close is that to the road?
Well, the road is right over in here, and that area is right here. I mean, it's only 25 feet from it. You don't want to fill in next to the road, because that would increase the wetland going toward the road. But if we did it over in this area, it would easily be an area further away. It would bring the 25-foot line up into here somewhere. We could fill across from 19 to 21 down to 20, drag that back. There's less than a foot change in grade there. and allow the wetland and hydric soils to be exposed and put the wetland plantings in that area. As a suggestion, just looking at it off the top of my,
Okay, is that something you can, put on a plan for us for the next meeting, Dave?
yes, it is.
Make a suggestion. I would like some thought and some discussion around the encumbrance that we've created for ourselves and how this hardship impacts our thinking. I need to give some thought to that myself. So, anyway. But yeah, if you could think about the driveway and how much of that is in the 25 and in the 50.
Yeah, there's actually calculations on the plan that show how many square foot are in the 25.
Well, yeah, make a proposal on the plan for that so I can see it and Lauren can work through it. And then we can discuss whether or not as a group and I'm the only one who's asking for that, so I don't, I don't know that anybody else is looking for that, or not, but just a thought that might get
Right
me
up-
a little
right
bit
up
closer
in-
to being okay with this.
Right up in this area here, B, 25-foot no disturb buffer, petition to allow for the construction of a section of the driveway in that buffer, the area inside the 25 will be 873 square feet. There is almost 90,000 square feet of lot that we have. I don't know if there's a calculation on how many square footage are inside the 25, but I can get that number also, so you could see the proportion. But there's 873 feet inside the no disturb.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, if you could do that, Dave, that'd be great. I like numbers, so I'd appreciate. I think, for me, I've beat this up enough for tonight.
Carson? Anything? No. So continuation?
Certainly.
I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing until August 28th.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Everyone in favor.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we are now. Request for a special use permit?
I just have can we maybe wrap this up in 15 minutes? I'm feeling like a graduate student here sitting outside a coffee shop that's closed. And I just, but luckily they didn't switch off the Wi-Fi. So it's kind of a weird situation, but yeah.
That's good of them.
I can be quick because item 10 was the article Floor sent and she's not here anyway, and there's really not too much for the, yeah, I can make it quick. Item number 7, request for a special use permit for lead mine conservation area from the last Green Valley. This is the annual hike that is in October. I have estimate of 10 to 20 patrons on October 30th, and I've recommended 3 conditions on the detailed agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special use permit as described in the detailed agenda with the proper conditions numbered 1 through 3.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, we're at 55 Arnold Road.
155 Arnold Road, request for a minor change. The TA's office received a poll petition for installation of a new pole on Arnold Road. This is in relation to the new house, the new Sossack house on the corner there. Pole is along the road further from the resource area. I have no issues with it. They obviously need power, and it will be above ground connection to the house.
All right.
With regards to the project at 155 Allen Road, DEP file number 300-1216, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minor change for the utility pole installation.
Second.
Discussion, seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Appropriation of $6,043 of wetland fund for the FY '26 to support the role of the Assistant Conservation Agent.
So as you all know, the Lori's role is 30 hours a week. 25 of that comes from our regular budgeted item, and 5 hours a week come from the Wetland Protection Fund. So for FY '26, the total amount is $6,043, and I like Lori, so if you guys could vote in favor of this to keep her, that would be great.
All right, Eric?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appropriation. Are we approving the appropriation, or are we sending that to somebody else to approve?
You are approving it because it's Wetland Fund, but it also does have to go to Select Board too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the appropriation and send to the select board for ratification, the $6,043 requested from the wetland funds for the fiscal year '26.
Second.
Discussion, seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Carsten Stuber in favor.
Goodwin in favor. Discussion of the weed killer ingredients, we're gonna put that off until
Yep.
the next meeting.
Let's wait for Flora to be here for that one.
Yep. Anything else?
Violations are ongoing, but in touch, we're still working with the applicants for 48 Bushnell for the restoration and 118 lead mine, which really, 118 lead mine, my stance is just go back with the original restoration plan that Glenn had provided, that Gary had implemented, and do what you undid. And then we recently issued a cease and desist for 33 Podunk that went to go pave their whole driveway. And that's where we are.
Okay.
I think the only other thing to really talk about to keep Karsten on, a couple of things that I don't really necessarily need Karsten for, but in the detailed agenda, I included the letter requesting town assistance from Advocates for Conservation of Oakham's Rural and Nature and Safety. This is related to the large-scale battery solar operation that has been in discussion for several years now in Oakham, right north of the Boy Scout camp. This does connect to our watershed. They're asking for support from neighboring communities to express their concern, which, as we know with solar exemptions, there's only so much, but they are asking that the Conservation Commission uses the letter draft that they provided, modified as needed, to send their way.
All right? Everybody in agreement on that?
Not in principle, I gotta be honest. I have not had an opportunity to read through that, so if we could maybe table
Table
that, table any
Okay,
discussion
it's tabled.
of support until next meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Got it. Other updates, the River Road parking lot is complete. I think they have to do some plant monitoring, but if you haven't been there, check out the new parking lot
looks
on River
awesome.
Road. It looks amazing. I did a huge shout out to Collins and Sons that did the contracting. Their communication was fantastic. They kept the site clean. I never went down River Road and saw dirt on the road, which was huge. So that was really great. We just had the Your Land, Your Legacy seminar the other week. We had 55 people in attendance, and it was phenomenal. And hopefully we got some people thinking ahead on planning for their future, putting some protections. Our next educational seminar is scheduled for, pending being scheduled for August 12th. That's going to be Lori and I and our intern Erica that are just doing a bunch of different topics on what homeowners can do to kind of help the environment protect wetlands in their areas. Just kind of as a way to wrap up the internship, but also continue our adventure of public education and outreach.
Right?
Lastly, as you all know, we lost Roy recently. We lost Nate. thank you to both of them for their contributions. We do have several people, well, a few people that have expressed interest, and we're lucky to have two of them in presence today. Maxwell that's sat in on this meeting today to listen and hear in, and Nick, who's also expressed a lot of interest, so I'll follow up with them to see what they thought of this. But if you guys have any questions, if you want to ask them anything, or if you want their contact information to reach out separately,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah, feel free to call me if you have any questions. About the,
Great.
any problem.
I think the only,
Painful meeting tonight, so it's usually a lot more fun than this.
this wasn't that bad. The only other thing, I think just meetings for June 5th. June 26th, I had to make some changes that I haven't done yet, but June 5th was ready to go if you had a chance to look at those.
I didn't.
What are the rules for voting on that? Because we only have 3 and I missed the meeting, so I'm guessing I need to
Let's just wait for
abstain
Flora
from
then.
voting.
Yeah.
Yes, if you weren't there, you can't vote.
Yeah,
But I mean, you
that's what I
could,
thought.
yeah. So we'll table those, and then a reminder, special meeting August 7th to do the 660 Main and Kerboy. Peer reviewers were out on the site today, so that is moving along on track.
Your review.
And is
for-
that located
660
at
Main.
the center office building, and is it also at 6 o'clock?
It is yes. Center office building, 6 PM, August 7th.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Carson?
Can we move to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah. Second?
I'll second that.
Thanks for sticking out with us, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bye, Karsten.
Karsten, you're a hero.
this was a weird,
Yeah,
the
it
last-
was a weird one, but we got through it, so there you go.
in the last minute, they had a fire somewhere.
Uh,
I see you.
have a good
Bye,
one, you
guys.